Okay, what's up, guys? Got some clouds today. We've been raining for about 4 days. We needed the rain. Now they're telling us they want the rain to stop, which would be nice. It's a nice cool day though, 70 degrees. Really nice. I've had quite a few debates in Facebook with people from Australia on shootings. They really have no idea what Second Amendment is, or it really drives me nuts when they refer to an AR as a assault rifle when it's a semi-automatic, and I have to educate them with that, which is kind of sad. Pick myself up this gimbal. Maybe it'll make the camera stuff a little smoother. I don't know. I'm still getting the hang of it. So, but with the amount of times I get out and feeling this pack on my back, is getting to the point where I'll tell you right now, 30 pounds is like nothing anymore. You tend to get used to it. So, hope this gimbal works out pretty good. I do like it. It's pretty light. It holds the camera and the microphone setup, which is nice. And I've been testing it quite a bit. This is the first video I'm going to make with it though, so kind of get used to the joystick. But it is a beautiful day. We got gas stations with bands playing country music out front, which I think is kind of funny. The people actually get their lawn chairs and go sit at the gas station. I don't know, not my thing. But more about that so-called school shooting. The cops actually sat out there for, what did they say, 45 minutes before going in. They kept saying we're a small town, we don't have the equipment. And I was like, are you kidding me? You guys are cops. You don't own a rifle? Heck, the normal pedestrian owns a rifle. Like, what the hell is that? This guy was shooting back, and apparently he shot over 100 bullets. And that's kind of scary, because the cops didn't want to go in. Basically, they were scared to get killed. They got kids, they got family, and they were saying they weren't trained. And I'm like, wow. You know, we've been having shootings in this country for a very long time. And you would think this would be a priority. So, what is going on here? I mean, really. Our small town is more set up than a lot of schools, I guess. We have an officer in the school. We have one way in. We can lock you in. They are buzzed in. Doors have special gadgets that lock the doors down. Well, apparently that school didn't have nothing on the doors. I mean, they were basically sitting ducks. Pretty stupid. And then I'm starting to see, wow, tons of Facebook posts. One guy apparently said in his social media that he was going to go shoot up a school, and they didn't screw around. They immediately went to his house, picked him up, charged him. So you gotta be careful what you say, man. You really do. And that's the sad part. But you'd think, I don't care how small your town is or how big, you'd think they'd start to realize we have 325 million people in USA. And every time I get into an argument or a debate from somebody from Australia with 25 million, I just laugh and shake my head. I'm like, are you kidding me? They don't even know how to compare apples to apples. When you have that many people, 325 million, do you think you're going to get some nut bars? I do. And that's the sad part. And that's just the way it is. So they really need to open their eyes on what's going on. They really do. I got a bunch of people down there. I'm going to go sit over here in the bleachers. So we got to ask ourselves. We seem to leave our protection up to town basis. And this town had nothing. There was no reason for that many kids to be killed. It was ridiculous. I even seen one school that spent $400,000 on a special setup to where once the school doors are locked, they release this smoke into the hallways where the guy can't see nothing, and the entire hallway setup was camera, and the police could see in live time where the shooter would be and what's going on. And some people would say, well, 400,000 is too much. You have to understand, my small town of 1,200, 1,400 people here, we spent $1.2 million on a football field. We then spent, I don't know, it was something like $700,000 on something else. When it comes to sports, it's like money has no object in these small towns, and never made a lot of sense to me, because you're lucky if 1 in a million actually make it and become these so-called millionaires, where it would make more sense to spend that money more on jobs that would actually benefit more people. But I find in the USA we're kind of backwards. But if they have that type of money to spend on, you know, all this sports, then they do have enough to set up their school so it's not such a soft target. Now, once we fix the schools and no longer can you get these shootings going on, we're going to have to take a look at other areas like supermarkets, like parks. We're going to have to take a look at, you know, other soft targets and what's going on. You know, like for example, the Nashville Hospital is a gun-free zone, and I get really worried every time I go there, because you got to go 8, 9 floors up. I mean, we're talking doctors, lung doctors, cancer doctors, nurses. I mean, we're talking a lot of people with a lot of education that costs a lot of money, and there's just nothing there to prevent that, which would turn into a shooting gallery. I just don't understand or get it. We have 325 million people in this country, and I can't specify that enough. And we're going to get some nut bars coming out of that population. It's just the way it is. And we need a way to make certain areas very safe. And obviously, the police need training. And they need a way to understand that they can't sit out in the parking lot for 40 minutes determining what they're going to do. They need to get off their pussy asses and get in there. And they were like, well, you know, we didn't have any assault rifles. All we had was handguns. And I'm like thinking, now because this guy fought back and he apparently shot 100 shots, you know what that got me thinking? I was thinking, boy, every time there's a shooter, there's only one. Can you imagine if there was 10 or 20 or 100? What would happen? I mean, just 10. I mean, it would be crazy. And I don't know. But I'm sure that day's coming when we start seeing 2, 3, 4 shooters on a rampage, and then it'll be something new that they have to deal with. You think they would be thinking, what do we do in that case scenario? You know, you think they would think. Now, days like Memorial Day, like right now, everybody's out, they're partying, they're camping, they're fishing. I mean, every place is packed. And being we're pretty much a tourist area around here, oh, there's cars everywhere, boats everywhere, kayaks. It's crazy. To even go out and camp is not my cup of tea. I prefer to go when the long weekends are gone. I don't see none of the gas prices low. They've all got them cranked up because they want to make money off the people on going on holidays. But that town was not prepared for any form of crazy man going crazy there. He even walked into a side door. They had video of him carrying a rifle. They had no lockdowns in that school whatsoever. They basically made it so easy it was ridiculous. And then when the cops sat out there for 45 minutes, he basically gave them a shooting. I think I heard he went in and out of 3 different classrooms from what I heard. I mean, it was ridiculous. You know, to put a simple, decent lock on a door in a classroom, and they fit near the foot of the door, I think they're like $100 a piece or something. They're not a lot of money. And for a teacher to be able to lock themselves into a classroom where, you know, the shooter cannot get in, kick in the door, it would take an army, is just common sense. Like I said, we have them in our schools. One way in, one way out. We have a couple officers. They're always checking side doors. They're always talking with the kids. You know, when they see some kid kind of loner off to the side, they'll actually go over and say, hey, is everything okay? You having a bad day today? You know, they investigate. And this is just what you have to have. Kids are very impressionable at those young ages, and they don't seem to understand time. To them, when something bad happens, it's the end of the world. A girlfriend breaking off with you, or a guy breaking off with a girl. I mean, to them, that is extreme stress. It really is. And it's just how it is. You can't just ignore them and say, go to class. And like I said in previous videos, there just isn't enough counselors, not enough teachers in the schools. So if our government really cares about these shootings, you don't need more laws. You need more teachers, more counselors. You need schools to be better prepared and have better setups. And be ready when it happens. The cops need to be trained. They need to know how to go down those hallways. They need to know how to walk behind each other. They need body armor if they don't have it. They really need to get out there and understand something bad is going to happen. It's not about if it's going to happen. I mean, 325 million people, it is going to happen. That's it. You know, you're going to get the odd nut bar that comes out of the woodwork. And that's just how it is. Now, unless you want to live in a world where they take every gun away, take all the bread and butter knives away, take the scissors away, good Lord, take away everything, and stick everybody in a jail cell, it's just not going to, it's not going to change. That's for sure. And if you actually see the news I see with the amount of people getting shot and killed in Nashville, Nashville's getting to be just like Chicago anymore. If you're smart, you'll carry. It'll give you a chance, and if you're smart, you'll pay attention to your environment when you walk into a grocery store where the back doors are. You know, before you jump out of your vehicle and run in that store, you look around, look over your back, over your shoulder. Everything looks pretty normal. Go ahead. I know it sucks to live life like that, but that few seconds you take. Alright. I did about 5 squats with my pack on, up in the endurance. Could feel that in the knees with 30 pounds. But it's getting less heavy the more I do this. 30 pounds is starting to feel like nothing. It really feels like 10 pounds anymore, is what it's feeling like. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. Had a lot of fights with people on Facebook from Australia. Arguments, debates, I don't know what you want to call it. They really believe an AR-15 is an assault rifle. They are eating up the media like no tomorrow. I have to explain to them it's a semi-automatic, and they really don't get it. When I get that far and they finally believe it's a semi-automatic, I then have to go the way of, we have 325 million people here. Understand that. That is a lot of people. And you got to understand that you're going to get a few nut bars out of it. And that's just how it is. So, whoa. The camera was wandering there. That's weird. So when you get the odd nut bar, you have to deal with it. And this school that was hit, the cops wasted, what, 40 minutes before going in. And I was like, wow. And the school doors did not lock down. He was able to get into a side door. I mean, the sheriff kept saying we made mistakes. Oh, you think? They should all be fired. They didn't have a clue what they were doing. Every single town, I don't care how small you are, should be prepared for an active shooter. And that's just the way it is. All the doors should be able to be locked down. One entrance, metal detectors, what do you call it? A police officer in the school, at least one. You know, at least one in there. So I would think it would make more sense. But we're just not getting it. That school was prime pickings. That's all there was to it. And there was no reason for that many lives to be lost, when if they would have just done a couple things, probably would have prevented that. I even seen an article where the parents wanted to go in and they wouldn't let them. You know, it's not the cop's responsibility to protect you. They've actually gone to federal court for that. I've always said cops are nothing more than janitors. They just show up to clean up the mess. Nothing more. Waste of money. But they made a lot of mistakes in that town, so hopefully other small towns learn from it and learn that they need to, you know, have mechanism on the doors and shut them down. Shut those side doors, lock them down. You know, one-way entry in. I mean, if a shooter was to go into our schools in this town, well, maybe we just got a good sheriff. He took care of all that years ago. He made sure to outfit, maybe because his kids go there, outfit our schools to where if a shooter was to go in, they wouldn't get very far. They really wouldn't. And that would be the end of it. Now, it doesn't matter how big your city is. It doesn't matter how big your town is. I don't care if you got 100 people in your town. You know, it only takes one. Now, when we stop making all these schools soft targets, then that'll probably change, but then I'm sure it'll be other places that become, you know, targets they go after. Like maybe the Nashville Hospital, because that's a gun-free zone. You know, you go up to the 8th floor, and you got doctors, you got lung doctors, cancer doctors, heart doctors. I mean, wow. If a gunman went up there and worked his way down, the amount of people would be unbelievable. All because they want a gun-free zone. I know a lot of people do carry when they go in there. They don't follow that sign. I've seen a few guys carrying. They cover it up. But I just hope like nothing like that ever happens or goes on. But that shooting is really quite disgusting. It really is. And those kids, all those kids did not have to die. All I seen was, why did the cops take 45 minutes to go in? I mean, they look like a bunch of cowards. That's the only thing I gathered from that, nothing more. So I really believe that the United States needs to step up its game, and instead of towns doing things separately, like our town has all this protection set up where another town doesn't. So it's almost like, as a parent, when you move into a town or where you're living, have you checked or called your school and said, what kind of precautions have you taken to prevent a shooting? And that's very important. And if they tell you, well, we can lock the doors, that's about it. Well, do you have an officer on duty? No, we don't have an officer on duty. I'd be like, well, I'm homeschooling my kid until you get your act together. Because that's what it is. I mean, as a parent, you need to call your school and find out what they have in place for an active shooter and what they plan to do. And then your next question is to call the police station and ask them directly, do you train for an active shooter? And how often do you train? Do you train once a month? Do you train at the school? Do you train at the mall? Is there different facilities that you go to and train? Or do you have something in place that actually trains where you can do this? Now, when you get both sides and you understand it all, if it actually makes you feel good, okay, they've done a good job. But if all of a sudden they say, no, we don't got nothing, you better homeschool or move. One or the other if you want to keep the kids alive. There's just too many nuts with 325 million people in this country. I'll catch you guys on the next one.